Something big is happening in Africa today. Nigeria, once famous for exporting millions of barrels of crude oil every month, is now importing oil from the United States of America. Let us think for a moment. This is Africa's largest oil producer, the central pillar of West Africa's energy economy. Yet, in early 2024, for the very first time, the United States exported more crude oil to Nigeria than it received from the country. At first, it may appear to be a weakness, almost like failure, but in reality, it is a proof that something extraordinary has happened in Nigeria. The shift is not about dependency. It is a clear sign that Nigeria has constructed something enormous, something powerful enough to change the global rules of oil and energy. This is the story of the $20 billion Dangote Refinery, Africa's biggest and one of the most daring energy projects in the world. It is the story of how one man's dream is altering history and why Saudi Arabia, the United States and Europe are now watching Nigeria more closely than ever. But let us take a look at what actually shocked the oil industry worldwide. According to the United States Energy Information Administration, in February 2025, the United States exported 111,000 barrels of crude oil per day to Nigeria, and by March, the figure rose sharply to 169,000 barrels per day. In contrast, Nigeria shipped about 54,000 barrels per day to the US in February and 72,000 barrels per day in March. For the first time ever, the United States became a net exporter of crude oil to Nigeria, the biggest oil-producing nation in Africa. On the surface, this looks like a contradiction. How can an oil-rich country like Nigeria import crude? But the context of what happened had changed the story completely. At the time, the United States refinery demand fell because of seasonal maintenance, while Nigeria needed a particular type of light sweet crude, the same type that the United States supplies in abundance. And why did Nigeria suddenly require so much of it? The answer lies in one huge reason: the Dangote Refinery. This $20 billion project needed a steady and massive flow of crude oil to begin operations. So while this unusual shift may be short-term, it carries a deeper symbolic meaning. Nigeria is not losing control. It is preparing to take full control, not just of its own energy sector, but of the way oil is traded worldwide. To really understand this shift, we must understand what the Dangote Refinery truly is. It is not just another refinery. It is Africa's most daring industrial project, built in the Lekki Free Trade Zone. The refinery covers about 2,635 hectares, an area equal to about 7,000 football fields. This refinery has a capacity of 650,000 barrels per day, making it the largest single-train refinery in the world. This means it processes all sorts of crude oils in one integrated system, cutting costs and boosting efficiency. But the refinery does more than refine petrol. It also produces diesel, jet fuel, liquefied petroleum gas, and polypropylene, which is used to make plastics. It even includes its own deep sea port, able to take in Suezmax-class oil tankers directly, one of the cheapest ways to move oil globally. But here is where the story becomes interesting. Although Nigeria has huge oil reserves, it has long lacked the refining capacity to supply its own fuel needs. For decades, Nigeria exported crude but brought in refined fuel, losing billions of dollars to foreign refineries and traders. Reports say that this cycle cost Nigeria over $10 billion every year. The Dangote refinery was designed to end that cycle, and to begin its operations, it had to import light crude, not from Middle East, but from the United States. This of course was a full circle moment. The world's richest black man had built a refinery so powerful that even Washington became a supplier. What followed next drew the eyes of the global energy sector. In its very first year, the Dangote refinery not only met local demand but also entered the world's market. It exported 1 million metric tons of petrol, mostly to Asia, where the need for cleaner fuel is rapidly increasing. It delivered 2 shipments of jet fuel to Saudi Aramco, the giant of Middle Eastern oil. That is like Coca-Cola buying soda from a new company. And by mid-2025, the refinery had sent 1.7 million barrels of jet fuel to the US, carried by 6 vessels. These numbers are more than statistics. They are strategic milestones. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and Asia, 3 of the world's largest energy markets, now import refined fuel from Nigeria, and this is not a distant dream. It has already begun. The Dangote refinery did not just switch on, it switched the flow of global energy. For the first time, oil products are moving south to north and west to east, shifting Nigeria's role from supplier of crude to competitor in refined products. While the US and Saudi Arabia struck new deals, Europe started to feel the pressure. For decades, European refineries dominated African fuel supply. Cities like Rotterdam, Antwerp, and Marseille refined oil, often Nigerian crude, and then sold it back to West Africa, making massive profit. This trade route was worth over $17 billion each year and for a long time seemed unbeatable. But in January 2024, OPEC sounded an alarm. The rise of the Dangote refinery was already cutting into Europe's fuel export to Africa. The reason was clear. One single refinery in Nigeria, with more capacity than 10 largest refineries in Europe combined, suddenly made those European shipments unnecessary. Why import from European countries when you can buy next door? As Dangote production grows, European traders are being pushed to slash prices, reduce supply, and search for new markets. The center of power in Africa's fuel trade is moving from Europe's importers to African-owned producers. This is not just a business adjustment, it is a major geopolitical shift. Looking back, Nigeria's oil history has been filled with ironies and contradictions. The country produces more than 1.3 billion barrels of oil per day, yet regularly suffers from fuel shortages. It has earned hundreds of billions from crude exports, yet spent tens of billions importing gasoline and diesel. It holds some of the world's richest oil fields, but for years, everyday Nigerians had to queue for hours to buy fuel. That reality is now beginning to change. With the Dangote refinery in operation, Nigeria can refine its own crude, meet its people's fuel needs, and export to neighboring countries and beyond, and bring in foreign exchange through high-value refined products. The country is already becoming a regional hub for energy in West and Central Africa, and Nigeria is now earning global credibility. This transformation is not only about barrels of oil, it is about economic freedom. It represents Africa stepping forward, not just to sell raw materials, but to lead in high-value finished exports. The Dangote refinery stands at the front of that movement. Imagine it. A nation once begging for refined fuel is now shaping global energy flows. A continent once sidelined in supply chains is now selling to the wealthiest countries. And Aliko Dangote, born in Kano, Nigeria, has built a project so ambitious that even OPEC and Washington cannot ignore it. This is more than oil. It is about Africa seizing control of its own future, and this refinery, it may well be the spark that ignites the continent's industrial rise. If you believe this is the kind of Africa the world needs to recognize, then do this. Like this video, share it with someone who doubts Africa's potential, and subscribe to the channel, where we post informative and transformative videos that highlight the bold steps shaping Africa's tomorrow today.